Hey there, you guys. Jacqueline Jax from AVA Live Radio. So today on topic, I have a interesting part of our monthly series, and this one is on how to not waste time on social media. Yesterday on the channel, I did a video on the best places to promote your music. And I think you should go back and watch that after this video if you haven't caught it before, because it's definitely informative. And it's really helpful because things are constantly changing on social media. So you definitely want to choose good places and solid places and know when and where and stuff like that. So it'll give you some really interesting things to think about for sure. Try that one. And then this next video, I'm recording 2 today actually for the month, because I usually do about 3 months. And this next one is going to be tips for getting more results on social media, because, not only do you want to know where, but also how not to waste time and to be able to have it all, and then how to get more results more efficiently. So there are 3 videos coming out to you as part of the AVA Live Radio free education here. We also have the Daily Jacks, which goes off. I will link it in the bio below, and that is to the broadcast every morning at 6 a.m. I talk about social media marketing, who's doing well, people who've just reached their first million, if it's possible, how it's possible, and how you can take those tools and those tips and the things that are changing and make them work for you so that you can continue to grow and continue to build engagement, a fan base, community, and just, have the life that you want, whether you want to work at home or you want to be a full-time musician or you want to just be a full-time creative person, even if you're doing artwork. I mean, whatever it is that you're doing, these are going to help you. And that's what typically the educational part of AVA Live Radio provides. It's like the cornerstone of our programming is there to help you get these tools and to manage them. So on today's video, maybe take some notes, because you're going to want to come back and reference this video again, but also you want to write some of this down, because there's probably some concepts in it you haven't thought of, and it might really help you today as you move forward into this wonderful master plan of doing so much more with less time involved. So the first thing is, what if I told you that 99% of the posts that I see on social media are a complete waste of time? They are not only wasting your time, but they are ensuring that people will either unfollow you or not get what you're about at all. And it is so frustrating for me, because I have everybody wanting me to watch their pages and look at their pages, but then I have the same problem with pretty much every page, and that's that it feels stale, that it feels like you're not really involved. There's no engagement because you're not really talking to the audience and you don't know how to, and that's okay. It's tricky, right? Because it's not like somebody's standing right in front of you, and even though you have more time to create a post than you would in a conversation, the actual reality of who you're talking to doesn't really sink in all the time. You have to kind of establish a relationship and a rapport with the people before you know who you're talking to. So it's easier when you build a community, but then it's more work, right? But in the beginning, it's really hard. And I would say 99% of the artists have under 1,000 people following them just because of that, just because they just don't know how to talk. They don't know how to post. So that video on posting for more engagement is going to be huge. We're going to talk a little bit about that here too, because some of these tips will definitely help you improve your engagement, help you improve growth, because you're not only working more efficiently, but I'm going to tell you what to post that's a lot more efficient. You know what I mean? And this will work for everyone, not just musicians. This specific video is for anybody on social media who just wants to be effective, wants to be there for their crowd, wants to really thank the fans and appreciate them, wants to keep the growth happening, and also kind of build a street team, So the first thing I use Hootsuite. Now, there are so many second-party apps out there, so many things. Even Facebook has now a creative side where there's like a creator studio where you can schedule posts to all of your Facebook pages and all of your Instagram pages. It's really been a game changer. And in fact, I tend to use that a lot, just because I feel like if they built it, they really want us to use it. And I feel kind of in my gut that continuing to use my Hootsuite to post to Facebook and Instagram entirely might not be the best decision. With that being said, Hootsuite is so valuable because it keeps track of stats. I have insights, and then it also allows me to post to all of my Twitter pages, all of my LinkedIn pages, all of my Facebook groups, and also Instagram. So it does control everything, and it does allow me to plan things, which is really helpful. But with that being said, look at the Facebook, Instagram page. If you go to your Facebook page and then you click on the creative, like Creative Studio, that little area there, it will lead you into a scheduler. And the scheduler that allows you to post both Facebook and Instagram will kind of guide you in there for the first time, and you'll be able to access that back end, which allows you to post to both and schedule to both and include hashtags, just do everything. And I really, really like it. So I think it's important to use. So those are two really major time savers, and you can see why. Okay, I'll probably create a whole nother video if you want more information, but honestly, you can YouTube search how to use Hootsuite and how to use the new Facebook Creative Studio. As far as wasting time, here we go. Now, the worst thing you can do, unless you feel like wasting time, is get onto Instagram or get onto Facebook's newsfeed and just start scrolling. Now, there's a time for that, and I'm going to tell you when there's a time for that. But if that's your only motion and what you do primarily, thinking that that's how you're going to stay in touch with people, that actually isn't the best first move. That is like an additional move. If you have more time or you're interested in seeking new people, maybe using search, and just like kind of going around and doing a round of maybe, engagement with people, but that is actually not the best first use of your time. The first use of your time before you do anything else is you should be planning your strategy. Because when you plan a strategy, either it be for a week or a month or even 3 months out, you will save so much time, because now once you have a strategy down for what you're going to talk about, what the tone's going to be, what pictures you're going to focus on, even if you haven't taken the pictures yet, it gives you this direction. And I find that when I plan things and I plan a direction, that just gets the ball in motion. It gives me a structure. And everything I do is just as free form as it is, and as much in the moment content as I do publish, I feel like having a structure initially for the base of all the content is so key to doing a great job, because I can then design that structure based on previous insights. Okay, so what I do is I write down, okay, what is my message today? What am I going to talk about this next week, this next month? What's going on in the news? Depending on the pages and what it is that you're keeping up with. What is it that the people that I know that look at all of these pages want to see more of? Now, for me, it's based on previous results. For new people, it's going to be based on what you think is the brand that you want to build, what it is that you want to be known for. Because for me, that evolves over time, right? Because I start with what I want, and then I realize over time what's getting the best reaction from people and what they want to see more of, what I do really, really well. So they kind of point that out based on engagement. So I use that information moving forward to the next month. And that's why we're always changing and evolving. I also use the Daily Jacks program to research what's happening on all these apps and find out what other people are doing. So I have a level of research involved. Now you can do your research through me on the Daily Jacks if you want. Links in the bio for that. It's a podcast that goes off every morning at 6 a.m. where I share all that information. Or you can spend some time every morning reading through the news of social media, what's happening on Facebook, what's happening on Instagram, what's going on Twitter. Just get the news and just read it and do that research, because that's going to tell you what they're focused on. So in other words, when Facebook and Instagram started sharing stories, that's what they focused on. And because that was a new tool, they wanted everybody to use it. So that's where the reach went. So like by knowing the news, you see, you can use that to really streamline what actions you take on all these social media pages, and they do change, sometimes weekly. I mean, like, sometimes we have literally weeks where I just can't even report it all. It's so much. I have to do like a major long one so that I can just get a lot of it in. And that's really something you need to pay attention to, because if you're using old tactics on newly adjusted algorithms and platforms, then it won't happen. Like for Facebook, for a time, there was a time when they really were pushing tools to Facebook groups, and they wanted everybody to go and use Facebook groups. So that meant when you used Facebook groups, you were accessing your audience a lot more than that less than 1% that they show to the average page. Enough said on that. Okay, so that's rule 2, is definitely do your research. The next thing is, so you're going to write down a monthly, a weekly, I don't know, depending on how good you're at planning ahead. Say you're going to be releasing, as a musician, a new single, right, on Spotify. Say you're going to be updating your website, taking new pictures for the artwork. You're going to be developing some merchandise around it. This is what I would do if I were a musician. And you were going to release a lyric video and then an official video. And that's your 3-month plan, right? So I got 3 months and I'm like, ooh, I got this song. So not only am I getting it on AVA Live Radio, right? But, which is avaliveradio.info/airplay. In case you didn't know, just send in your information, avaliveradio.info/airplay. Not only am I lining it up with that team, but I'm going to write down how I'm going to press this out, the distribution, on which social media platforms, and what the tone is going to be. Now that starts with a little description and a title line. So think of it in terms of, okay, I'm going to focus. Here's the new song. Let's come up with a title for it. And it could be, watch the new video from this band called this. It could be just that simple. Or, have you ever, right? Have you ever felt this way about a relationship? And bang, new single by, right? So like, it can be anything like that. It can be very, I would say the more leading it is in the title, the better off your promotions are going to do from this point on. And thank you so much for the good advice. I appreciate that. Then underneath that, so you got your title. I'm gonna write this down so that you don't forget and that I stay on track. So the title, very descriptive, leading. Definitely leading. Give them more than just your band name and the name of the song, because people aren't going to be searching that typically, right? That limits your audience. Title. Then use that title to describe the video. Now let's think about things that you can describe your song, your video, whatever it is that happened that month. Did you get in the studio? Whose studio? Where? With who? How did you guys meet? What came out of it? Why did this project happen? Think of yourself as like being interviewed. And this is why Behind the Music really works on the station, because literally I ask you the questions, you answer them, and then you have a great piece of content that not only gets pressed out to our people, but also you can use to shape out a full 3 months of content for your page. And I think it's just like amazing, because you not only get the release on AVA Live Radio to 15 broadcasts and all of the 10 years of people that are following us, but you also get marketing help. We do artwork for you if you need it. We do like video clips for you for Instagram if you need it. And then on top of it, I help you describe accurately what's going on. We push you. We have editors to help that, to shape out that press release so that it's so much more effective. So in the press releases, right, because that's basically what you're doing, you're going to describe everything you can about the making and the creation until you're exhausted. What was it about? What was the story behind it? Literally, I want you adding text to this. You want as much down as you can. And don't forget to somewhere in there include some basic bio stuff. Now, I don't mean say I did this and I did that. Just say like 26-year-old singer-songwriter who creates rock ballads, or is working on a new rock album, or is working on a new hip hop mixtape, or whatever it is, right? And then your name. And then after that, say, has just released the first single or the debut single of the album named, right? And then this was created in and created by, and maybe a little 2 sentences on how you met or something interesting that people might want to know, something they might not notice or that would effectively get them to watch the video. So for instance, let's say if I were going to shape that, and then we shape this for you, and this is what makes it so much less confusing, right? If I were going to shape one, which I'm actually doing a bunch of them for artists today, then say it was a ballad and it was a rock ballad, and say, I'm gonna write this down so that I can kind of focus on who it was. Rock ballad about, let's do this, about bullying. Yeah, rock ballad about bullying. So love in a relationship that leads maybe to abuse or bullying, or that you've learned from and hopefully has an inspiring outcome, right? Or a lesson to learn. So that now, ooh, wow. Think of that 3 months of content and all that you could talk about in that 3 months of content. How that idea came to you, why that idea came to you, who it's going to help. I can think of if you live stream and you like to live stream or you like to create chat videos, ooh, you could go crazy on bullying, anti-bullying, rock music, producing rock music, how a ballad, you know, the fundamentals to making a ballad, how it is to be a singer-songwriter today. You could literally take one question from my Behind the Music series and elaborate like crazy in 5-minute videos for your Instagram, for your YouTube. And this is how I create content. This is how I take one idea and I just build it out. Now, you're going to need help probably, right? So feel free to come and contact us at AVA Live Radio if you get lost, because our series is actually shaped to help you create this stuff. The Behind the Music, it's a gold package. It shapes this story for you in the Behind the Music series. You get a written article and a press release, already done, because we've worked on it with you. Then you get a audio version that you can turn into a video, and you can put clips out there all day long because it's about 20 minutes. So that means you've got at least 4 to 6 to 7 really great clips, 5-minute clips, or even like, 21-minute clips of quotes and little entryways to that. You know what I mean? And if you're really smart and you video yourself while you're doing the interview, crazy good content, because then you have more content to share. And this is going to draw for 3 months, and it all talks and promotes your single without saying, hey, will you listen to my single? Hey, will you watch my video? It's just natural promotion. It's organic. And that's the best kind of promotion to do. It's not asking people to watch, asking people to do. It's call to actions are good, right? They're good, but they're only going to work for people who already love you. We're talking about gaining more people. So you got to story tell. So you can see how I'm starting to shape this out, right? So I've got this new song. It's part of an album. I'm going to talk about that in the description. I'm going to title it really well. I'm going to describe everybody involved. Maybe on Instagram, I could do a series of all the musicians that played and like video them playing their part and posting it in introduction of the new single coming out. Be sure to save it on Spotify or join my email list so you get the video in the mail. I mean, like, all that can happen through this content as it's evolving. Another paragraph in your description could be talking about, so we've already described the song. We already talked about the people involved. How was the video made? Did you hire production? Did you do it yourself? Was this a challenge that you took on? You know, like, think about, I just got a new iPhone, and I could think of a whole week's content around that. Okay, so I just got a new iPhone, and I challenged myself to make my own lyric video just using the iPhone. Here's my experience. Every single day you could show up on social media and literally talk about, all right, this was the struggle, this was how it went. You could check in with 1-minute little Instagram posts, little audio or create an audio feed around it, explaining it, or actually create a video feed around it, just sharing the stories every day as you start to try and film this, as you pick out a location, as you figure out what you want it to look like, as you edit the video. All of that is like amazing in the moment story content, really. And it totally builds anticipation for the song coming out and the video coming out. It will draw to you music fans. And this is like such a great time saver, because when you're in the moment, you don't have to go back and recreate. So you're seeing how now I'm building out these time-saving tools, because instead of having to really push this out daily, I could take all this description and I could create, for instance, here's how I would do it. Once I get it down, I would create tweet versions of everything, including pictures, live streams, 1-minute video check-ins. I would create a trailer for the video coming up. I would create a little advertisement for saving it on Spotify when it was coming out. And that could literally be just you like sitting there one day and just recording a bunch of 1-minute little trailer videos, and then break up some of the video content and create a behind the scenes. I mean, like, there's a lot you can do in advance, right? Because you have all this. So this is storytelling. Now, the reason why this saves time is because I don't necessarily have to go back in and do this every day if I didn't want to, or if I did want to and I didn't want to pre-schedule, I have now this amazing timeline. I find that the majority of the time we waste in creating posts, and I think you'll agree with me, is thinking about what to post. But if you section it off by project, you're now not just advertising a project, but you're working on creating posts that storytell. Now, I want you to listen to this one point really carefully. Do not place advertisements on social media, because advertisements don't encourage growth. Advertisements actually chase people away. The only thing that will encourage growth on social media is you talking to the audience and telling a story. And it can be really vague and really simple. It can be, what was the last music video you watched? Just that. It could be that simple. And then you can tell a story about how you just created a music video based or inspired on this one that you saw. That could be a live stream, that could be a little video, mini video clip, that could be a written blog post. It could be a blog that starts out your newsletter to go to your fans and then leads into when your video is coming out and some behind the scenes trailers. It's such an interesting draw, because you've not only asked them a question, but you've now set up the advertisement for what you're actually doing. And this is the difference between posting really, really well and posting not so well, which I'm going to really break down for you in the next video. So getting back to time savers. So now you know how to shape your content, right, ahead of time, so that you can think, just clear your head and think more purposefully. You have it written down. You have it at a reference sheet that you can go back to every day. You have quotables in the description. You have topics to talk about. You can ask a question and then you've already got the answer. You can do it so many different ways, which we'll go over in the next video. But let's look at times to post, because typically I have a regimen that has been working for me with my times. What I usually do is LinkedIn and Twitter are early times for me. They are 8 to 12 is when I interact on those. I usually set up posts to go off at that time. And I also go back and answer comments and questions and talk to people at that time. On Facebook, it's usually 12 p.m., sometimes in the morning, but not really, because people are on their way to work. And after 8 is the best time on Facebook. That's usually when I answer my comments and I go back and I have conversations, or I set up some something new that's in the moment. I usually wait till the evenings and I set that up then. And it'll go off maybe the next day at 12, or I just create all the content together and have them going off at like 9 a.m., 12 p.m., and like 6 p.m. But usually I interact with people at 12 and 8. And then on Instagram, it's like 9 a.m. does really, really well on Instagram, but they're more scrolling than talking. I find that people chat more all during the night hours. So on Eastern time, I usually start chatting at like 8 p.m. They are kind of chatty at 12, but people are eating lunch and they're usually at work and they don't have very much time. So usually that's a scrolling time. So if you were going to post, you would want to post at 9, 12, and maybe 6 or 8 p.m. Eastern time. If you wanted to interact, the best times to interact are when people are on the app, and it will show you that in the insights. So one of my keys to this is checking the insights all the time, every single month, to see the shifts. And usually when I interact, it's going to boost that engagement, but it does show you in insights when people are on the app, and it kind of is almost the same for Facebook at the same time as Instagram. So that's a great way to find out when people are there, because obviously you want to post when the most people are there so that they will react to it. And if your post is great, you'll get more reach. So it kind of all works together. You see what I mean? And that just saves time. Okay, so we've got pre-scheduling. We have accurately describe the project. Just do it once a month so that you have a big project. Get with AVA Live Radio if you want help developing this. It makes it so much easier, and busy people always use the right people to get things done, because if you do everything yourself all the time, you're just going to go crazy. You're never going to create enough content, you know? So why not get the help? And you get all that exposure anyway. Then the last bit is interacting. That's when I interact. Not the first time. I don't interact the first thing every day. I interact after I've done this job. So this is why I'm saying, like, you either can write about this in the morning and share your thoughts and maybe create a fresh post, or you can create a fresh post to be scheduled later and build it out across all the social media pages, or you can interact and scroll the feed. I save that for the last of the day. After everybody has commented on my stuff, everybody has left me messages, that's what I do the last day. When I sit down, I watch TV or whatever, I sit there for like 30 minutes to an hour, and I give that time to my favorite app first. I don't ignore the other apps, but I choose my favorite app first, the one getting the most engagement from me. Whatever's popular or trending at the time is usually where it's getting it. So right now it's Instagram is getting the most attention, so I spend more time on Instagram. I'll spend probably, whatever the demand is, up to 20 minutes per page. If I have a lot of pages to do, I won't probably do them all in one day. I'll do them over a couple of days. But as long as I get back to the people eventually, all that does is it answers them, it helps to build community, and it also is great for the health of the page. Because when you answer, the algorithm sees it and it kind of reactivates that relationship. Another big time-saving tip is if you feel like there's no engagement on your page, go back in the comments and start talking to the people who last commented with you. Because not only will they see your next post, they're more likely to see it, but it activates them. It brings them back to your page because they'll be like, oh yeah, I haven't seen them in a while. Let me go and check out their page. So like that's a real big time-saving tip. Instead of just randomly scrolling, go to the people who actually interact with you and talk to them, because the people in your newsfeed, although it's probably pretty and you've shaped it up really well, are probably not the people you stay the most in touch with, because the algorithms just really don't do that very well. You know what I mean? I would much rather react to the people who spend time with me. And that is a big, big tip of keeping growth coming and keeping people, you know, on board with you and building those relationships. I mean, my street team is really composed of people who have been following me for a long time. So when I post something, I post with them in mind. I'm talking to them and I know them because they've been here the longest. They comment, and so I get to recognize them and we have discussions on the posts. That's another thing that I encourage people to do. I encourage people that are in business, they can send me a message. But on a personal level, I always encourage them to go to the front face of my posts. In fact, some of my pages actually have a prompt that tells them and reminds them if they want an answer from me to go to the front page and leave a comment. By building that relationship and always establishing that with people rather than constantly doing it in DMs, it makes it so much easier and so much faster. Now, with that being said, if you have, my lighting's changing, sorry. If you have a lot of, sorry guys. Oops. If you have a lot of DMs, a lot of messages, then one way that you can help that is in the Facebook area, the Creator Studio. It will allow you to answer all of your DMs at once. So you can literally check them all without going through your app. You can do it on your computer. Another place that does it is in Hootsuite. It allows me to check my DMs on a lot of apps. So some of these tools are really, really helpful and totally worth it because they save you time by allowing you to access more spaces at once, and then you just, bam, you get them all done. Another thing I notice is time-saving tip is a newsletter. Oh my gosh, a newsletter is amazing because it prevents you from having the situation where you have to talk to every single person individually. It allows you to just go into your newsletter, post to everyone one newsletter, and then say where you're going to be later that day. Maybe you show up on a live stream at a certain time, and now you've just boosted your engagement because you told everybody, I'm going to be here tonight at 8 p.m. Be sure to join me. And here's the new video. You know, we're going to talk about that later. You know, so like a newsletter really has been helpful. But the other side to it is you can use your posting kind of like your newsletter, but it's not as consistent and it's not yours. So I still encourage you to build a newsletter, but also in addition to that, leave the news on your post so that people get a chance to see it. At least there'll be some more people that will see it as distribution. And finally, my final tip, what do I want to tell you? My final tip, I think, is just to not waste time on social media. You have to be focused and you have to be consistent. Because if you're not consistent, then you won't be able to build anything. And so therefore, you'll always be feeling like you're working uphill. When you are consistent and you have built a fan base, sure, there's a lot of work, but it's in a different area. You literally can show up on a live stream and talk to everybody at once. And I've found that by making little videos and just showing up and doing all the Q&As at once, people don't mind. They don't mind that I'm not answering all the DMs unless it's work DMs, that the personal people feel still engaged with me and feel like I am reacting to them because I take their questions and I read them aloud on the live streams in the stories section. And so then they pay attention to stories because they're likely to get messaged and, you know, and talked to. I feel that that is one of the biggest time savers I have, is just by live streaming or creating a video that addresses the people who need to be addressed. All right, so that's the video for today. I hope you guys liked it. Hopefully it wasn't too long, but there was a lot of information to share, and certainly I think enough goodies that you can use to customize your plan and your approach. This is Jacqueline Jax for AVA Live Radio. Don't forget to get on the newsletter at Music Marketing Insider because that's where you're going to get all these videos every month. And leave me a comment below and let me know how you approach this. I would love to know. See you guys later. Have a great day. Bye.